Hello everyone, hope you're all well and thanks very much for all the support with my videos. Today I want to speak about Michael McGrath, who's just been announced as the government's appointee for European Commissioner to replace Mairead McGuinness. Now this comes on the back of a number of by-elections that could be sparked into action because of the announcement that McGrath will not run in the next election as being appointed European Commissioner. This comes in with the four recently elected representatives that will trigger by-elections in Ireland as well. So it could be up to 5 by-elections that have to be held by 6 months from July the 16th. So this brings up to 5 by-elections, but we know what's going to happen is the government are going to call an election later on this year and preparing their summer economic statement and budget to get ready for this upcoming election this year. McGrath will walk away into a big job in Europe for Brussels, worth over €300,000 plus allowances and expenses, and perhaps he wants to move into some kind of financial portfolio within the European Union as well. He's been the Irish Finance Minister and the first Fianna Fáil Finance Minister since the financial crash well over a decade ago, and McGrath took one budget and was preparing the way for the next budget coming up in the next number of months. But we all know that a lot of this, the job is done regarding this budget in terms of what's going to support, because McGrath is a fully signed up member of the big corporations, the big billionaires, super rich and super wealthy in Irish society, and much the same in Europe. He's did the bidding of the European Union here, so now he's going to walk off into his big job in Europe, who's going to profit the billionaires and work for the big corporations. In Ireland, he's had meetings with many big business operators over the last number of years. He's had meetings with Cantor Fitzgerald, their wealth managers, and they've lobbied for favourable tax treatment for investment funds. So he had a big meeting with them a few months ago, and actually had an impromptu question and answers discussions when he was there on various political matters when he was at Cantor Fitzgerald's offices in Stephen's Green a few months ago. No real surprise there with McGrath. And he was against taxing the rich, taxing big business, and no bigger taxes for the people that earn €100,000 plus. So McGrath, who does he work for? When more and more people are struggling in Irish society. I spoke in my previous video about Ireland being the second highest country in the European Union for costs, 42% above the European average, and forcing more and more people into poverty and people who are struggling day to day. But this is who McGrath represents. And he was also lobbied by the airplane leasing companies who lobbied McGrath for a lower tax rate as well. Now 60% of the total aircraft leasing companies in the world are in Ireland, tax haven Ireland, surprise, surprise. And they lobbied him not to get increase in tax rates either as well. And he also brought forward a bill on lobbying. He watered down a bill to regulate lobbying a couple of years ago, where it was looked after, I think it was Michael Darcy was the Fine Gael minister that left his role and went to work with a big financial company. And this has been quite common in Irish society, especially in political life in Ireland, where you have people like Brian Hayes, who went off with work with the Bank and Payments Federation, and the Kenny himself, who said Ireland was the best little country to do business in, who went off to work with a vulture fund. And much the same as this lobbying bill that he pushed forward, it was supposed to have a 2-year cooling off period rather than the 1-year cooling off period when they leave office before they work with anybody else. But again, McGrath pushed forward this to have more lax regulation on politicians. But there's no real surprise there, because he'll be moving off to Brussels now in his big, highly paid job, doing the bidding of the bureaucrats in Brussels and working. In the last number of days, he's been in Luxembourg, he's been at the IMF meetings, he's been at meetings with ECOFIN, which are the European financial leaders meeting there as well. And he's also had meetings with the head of the ECB, Christine Lagarde. Inflation came out of nowhere. That Christine Lagarde We all know where it came from, the magic money tree being printed by the European Union. And the IMF, he met Kristina Georgieva, is the managing director of the IMF, over the last couple of days as well. So he's been involved with the Eurogroup as well. And we all know Pascal Donoghue is the head of the Eurogroup as well. So it's more of the same policies that's going to be pushed forward by McGrath. He was also at Davos in the last couple of years as well. He was at a couple of meetings in Davos with the WEF. Let's see what agenda he's pushing. More of the same neoliberal agenda, more of the same pushing more money onto the national debt, and pushing more draconian legislation on people in terms of the hate speech, not to mention the immigration chaos that's been all over Ireland the last couple of years in particular. So McGrath, complete yes man for the bureaucrats in Brussels. And also this will have implications for Ireland, because there's been an announcement as well that Jack Chambers is going to be the new finance minister, 33 years of age, and only appointed last week as deputy leader of Fianna Fáil, next in line to Micheál Martin. So more of the same policies coming up by Jack Chambers, by Michael McGrath moving off to his big role in Brussels. And as well, they're going to be pushing forward these Euro bonds, which are going to have a huge impact on national and country sovereignty in terms of controlling their debt. Because we know the European Union has control of our monetary, fiscal policy and the currency also as well. So this has huge implications for Ireland in terms of the taking of sovereign debt off to the European Commission, and centralising power, centralising control with these unelected technocrats in the European Union. Now this comes on the back of the last number of years of the war in Ukraine, and looking for war bonds, and looking to and the COVID bonds also as well that they used during that period as well, where they took huge amount of control. And of course van der Leyen is going to be the new reappointed leader of the European Commission, and Fianna Fáil will do their usual U-turns and bow down to van der Leyen by appointing her. Now this comes on the back of a lot of the similar European commissioners in Ireland that were appointed. It's really a rogues gallery, if you want to name them. People like Pádraig Flynn, we won't mention him with his houses, how expensive it is to run a house in Brussels. Do you remember that one? A few years ago when he was on an RTE TV show speaking about how expensive it was to run two houses, and how much money he needed to run those two houses. Patrick Hillary became the Irish president as well, was the European Commissioner. Phil Hogan, of course. And that said the better about Phil Hogan, who said we'll turn water down to a trickle. The European Commissioner who was unceremoniously dumped because of his breach of COVID restrictions, going off playing golf with his high-powered pals in Clifton. And Phil Hogan, who's the architect of Simon Harris's ascension to the throne in Dáil Éireann as well, and who's also a key lobbyist for the European Union as well. This is where the policies are fermented from the key lobby groups working for big corporations, that all legislation is proposed in the European Commission. Surprise, surprise, more centralised control. And of course we had Charlie McCreevy, Mr. Bilderberg himself, Irish finance minister, who also went to be a director of Ryanair and Sports Direct, notoriously as well. And of course we won't leave it going without the last one, Peter Sutherland, the father of globalisation. And Goldman Sachs and BP, CRH and all these companies as well. So yeah, McGrath joins a big list and rogues gallery of former European commissioners in Ireland that stood up for the interests of the big corporations, the globalists, and the ordinary people are the ones that suffer with all the crises created through these policies: housing, health, homelessness, inequalities, fuel poverty, dragging us towards war, immigration chaos. Go on, we'll keep going on. So thanks for joining me with my video today, really appreciate it. Thanks for all the support. And please press subscribe to my YouTube channel. And from Dublin today, Slán. Take care, see you soon, bye bye.